Good evening everyone and welcome back to another video, and this time it's about Warthunder. If you don't know, Warthunder is a massive multiplayer online game, and it is amazing in that you can take control of any vehicle you want, whether in the ground, in the air or in the sea. Even helicopters do exist, jets, props, turbojets and so on. Now even trucks exist and all that, and what we can call infantry trucks, infantry vehicles. So looking at this game, and right now we have the World War mode, and I'm really impressed with the scenarios that are set. So right now we have the scenario of the battle for the Chinese farm, which is a battle that took place between Egypt and Israel back in the 1970s, 73. And also we have the Battle of Fulda Gap, the attack on the Fulda Gap, which is also a hypothetical world Cold War situation. And while the Chinese farm is based on real scenario, the Fulda Gap is both based on a hypothetical situation, and both are amazing so far. I've been seeing how the game is progressing on the World War mode, but right now I just want to focus on this video on other aspects of the game. Now, I've been playing Warthunder since 2014, and the Warthunder came out I think in 2012, so I am one of the early people who have really played it, and I have seen how it was before the helicopters were introduced, before many of the top tier vehicles were not introduced, before they were not even there. And right now, by the year 2020, I've seen how Warthunder basically evolved to what it is today. And for me, Warthunder represents one of these latest games, one of the modern games that are kept alive by updates, and this is so amazing. And why do I love Warthunder? To begin with, I have always been interested in military history, and military, documentaries and all of that. And since I was in high school, of course, when we used to study about, these stuff like the 1973 war and such stuff, and World War II and so on. But one of the most amazing things that I find that, in my opinion, and of course in this video, this is just my opinion about the game. It's not something that should bother anybody or should, in one way or another, be something that is violating any ideas or any whatsoever sort of, boundaries or whatever, because it's just my simple opinion, simple and plain. And so to me, I have always been trying to find the game that really suits me, and to be honest, I never found the game that suits me, because first of all, most military games out there are not as big as I really wanted to. So when Warthunder came out, and it's a massive multiplayer gameplay, and when I just experienced my first games in the game, I found out that I really loved this game, and I just fell in love with the game right away, because I've seen how we can control vehicles on a massive scale, like literally a huge scale by kilometers, hundreds, even tens of kilometers, if not hundreds of kilometers, and even the altitude is so massive, like it's a huge map compared to other games. So this is one of the biggest things that really draws me into this game. And the other thing is that we can have a combined arms, like you can use your aircraft or your helicopter or your tank or in some cases you can in custom maps, in custom games you can even use your vessels, naval vessels, with some aircrafts and some even tanks. So this is what makes me really love the game. And even right now in the World War mode, we have infantry squads that are operating recoilless rifles, as we are seeing right here on the screen. Recoilless rifles like I think the 75 or the 76, is it 73 or, yeah, 70 something millimeter gun, which is a recoilless rifle. That's for the Egyptians. and we have also the 105 millimeter anti-tank gun, or the artillery piece recoilless rifle for Israel. So both of these are amazing to see, and you can fire at them with your main gun or explosive shells or even your machine gun and kill those infantry. And that's so cool because the game offers so many things. And looking at these models and seeing how amazing they are modeled, and seeing how Warthunder really has a huge capacity when it comes to its files, when it comes to its models, when it comes to how good it's really been developed. The interior of the tanks, you have tanks and you can see the interior of the tanks as we are seeing right here in this video. And this is also another thing which really makes me love this game. So basically this video is about why I am in love with this game and all this sort type of ideas as I'm expressing myself right now to share my ideas with you online. And basically what I find very amazing about the game is that we don't, suffer from other problems that are plaguing and that are, destroying and ruining other games, like the small maps. Well, I'm not going to say they are ruining, because every game is the way it is. Every game is perfect the way it is somehow. But to be honest, I have always been trying to play Battlefield and trying to play Call of Duty, but I just found that there is something that is making me really not able to enjoy these games 100%. To begin with, Battlefield is an amazing game. I'm one of the gamers who used to play and I'm still playing the Forgotten Hope Secret Weapons and the Desert Combat. And of course, these are modifications for the Battlefield 1942, and they are amazing because they are very similar to War Thunder in that they have huge maps. You can use your soldier as infantry, you can use your tank or infantry fighting vehicle or transport vehicle, whatsoever, even transport cars and all that sort, jets, helicopters, naval vessels, and all sorts of these things. And Battlefield for me is amazing because it's also huge. It has a huge maps, but it's not on the scale that War Thunder has. Call of Duty is amazing, of course, but it is very different because it's basically a first-person shooter. Now, Battlefield is more of a vehicular game also, and also a first-person shooter at the same time. War Thunder is different because War Thunder is only a vehicular game. And that's also amazing because if you look at War Thunder and you compare it, for example, to games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. I know Call of Duty is not on the scale to be compared to War Thunder here, but looking at Battlefield, for example, Battlefield is also a vehicular game. And looking at Battlefield, for example, still there are some problems with the game that I, from my own personal point of view, find problematic. Maybe they are not issues for other gamers and other players, but I find them troubling. For example, if you look at the Battlefield, the tank has no interior modeling. The model inside the tank is not modeled, and so you only have the tank as a vehicle that is modeled from the outside mainly. So if you take the spectator camera, for example, and you go inside the tank, you won't see the inside in the interior of the tank. Whereas in War Thunder, that is very present in the game. So that's an amazing thing to see in War Thunder. For example, if you go inside the M163 Vulcan, fighting vehicle, which is an anti-air and infantry support vehicle, which has a 163 type Vulcan cannon, which is, I guess, 20 millimeter. You can see that inside the vehicle, from where the compartment to the infantry, there are two guys in there, like sitting there. You have the driver, you have the gunner, and you have the ammunition inside, and you have all of these very amazing details. If you go to any tank, you can see the inside. Also, this BMP-1 has its interior modeled. We can look at the ammunition carousel inside it, and so on. Also, right here, if we look, for example, at this scenario right here with the infantry crew manning the 105 millimeter recoilless gun, we can see that they are firing back, and they are actually firing, and they are adjusting their elevation to fire at the player-controlled vehicles, and that's very amazing. Look. War Thunder is very immersive game. The sense of immersion in this game is also what draws me into it. And Yeah, I know there are so many ideas in the War Thunder community, and I'm always watching videos. I'm trying my best to play the game. Of course, I'm not that far, unfortunately, in the game because I'm level 40, and I still have a lot to do, of course, and I am really enjoying it, and I will continue to play it. And so right here, I've been playing the game, but I lost my original account when I used to play it a lot in my university hostel. And I will share some of the old screenshots in another commentary video and state more opinion about the game because I have so many opinions when it comes. I have a lot of opinions about the game because I am so really into it. I'm so passionate about it because I really love it. Now, another thing that I would really love to see in War Thunder is the implementation of these ground crews, because we really have them already. So imagine if you, for example, have a truck or a vehicle and it has trucking, it can truck these crews with their 105 or 106, yeah, 105 millimeter, 106 millimeter recoilless rifle or the other one, and basically you can track the recoilless rifle and deploy it somewhere else and have your crew. And I know that some of the guys in the YouTube community, and I am also I am a supporter of this idea, that we need to see the implementation of the infantry in the game. Now, this is a very amazing point that I have to address here, because I do not believe that we need to destroy the balance of the game and destroy the experience of the game, because for me, War Thunder is perfect the way it is. The game is perfect, honestly. There is nothing that is wrong with it. And when I say perfect, I'm not saying that it's totally what is, everybody should like to see. No, that's not the case. I'm just saying that it is perfect the way it is, just like every game with its limitations, with its because what makes a video game is that you have limitations and you are inside a world that you are taking a part in and so on. So War Thunder in that regard is a vehicular game. It's amazing the way it is, and it's perfect the way it is, although we need a lot of changes, of course, and every player and every gamer has their own opinions regarding that. So just to clarify that point. Now, when it comes to War Thunder, I would love to see, for example, the infantry controlled by the player, because in my opinion, what really drew me into the game and what makes me love this game is the fact that it has huge maps, like I said, just like I said. So I can control all vehicles, airplanes, helicopters, you name it, tanks, naval vessels, and all this. And I can go and keep playing it for hours, and I'm not even bored, because I can enjoy this game. Enjoy, basically playing with other players on this massive multiplayer maps, just like I used to do with the Battlefield 1942, and I'm still doing. But I'm mostly playing War Thunder these days in this era, because it is, honestly, it is what I like. It's the #1 game that I like. So just what really makes me wonder, and what really makes me love this game is the fantasy that I have also, which is controlling an infantry soldier in this vast map. And I know I have been keeping up recently. I've been watching a lot of videos. I read a lot of posts, even in the War Thunder blogs and so on. And I've seen so many opinions from gamers, from players. Each one is talking about their opinion, and the whole point that I'm trying to say about the infantry controlled by the player is this: so many players out there are saying if we introduce the infantry into the game, it will ruin the game and it will make it useless, and it will create the imbalance issues, and it will disturb the balance of the game, just like Battlefield has some issues with it and all that. Look, from my own personal point of view, and this is just my opinion, I would say yes, we need to implement infantry in War Thunder, but we can keep the infantry in their own maps. We don't need to put the infantry with the tanks, because they will get slaughtered and there will be problems with the balance issues and all that, like some gamers and players are saying. But here is the point. The point is, if we implement the infantry, for example, a German soldier with a carabiner 98K, the Kar 98K semi-automatic rifle, and you control that soldier and you control his weapons like the Kar 98, and you can shoot with that Kar 98. And on the other hand, for example, we have a Soviet Russian soldier with a Mosin Nagant semi-automatic rifle, and you can control him, you can control his rifle, and so on. If we introduce these, for example, these type of soldiers, and it's easy because the game already has them modeled in it. Now, if you argue that, you know, Warthunder is not is a solely vehicular game, then I would agree. Yeah, that's true. But just look at Warthunder. Warthunder came out as a exclusively aircraft game, like an air simulation game. And then what happened is very amazing. Is a very fascinating thing to consider, because I never expected this in the old days, because I knew of the game and I've seen it. I used to watch its videos before I even downloaded it and before I even played it. And I used to think this game will only be about aircrafts. And I was wrong, because I was really amazed. I remember the videos, one of the videos was from Fly Daily, of course. Any guy who is keeping up with the War Thunder community on YouTube know about Fly Daily. And once they introduced the tanks and the ground vehicles, and one of those early videos was of a Fly himself playing War Thunder and its tanks, I couldn't believe my eyes, literally, because I was wondering, how did Gaijin, like how did the developer and the company that created this game basically turned an air simulator into a ground vehicle simulator. And it's not just that. We have a very amazing tanks, very amazing trucks. Even if we look at the crews inside those trucks and tanks and those cars, they are moving their hands and they are moving their heads and so on. So, for example, if the gun is moving its elevation up and down, the soldier, the crew is moving their hands to, you know, move it and to adjust its elevation and so on. And honestly, looking at that from that perspective, and even later when we had the naval vessels, and then when we had the helicopters and even some modern jets, I was amazed. I was looking at this engine, the Dagor engine, which the War Thunder has, and I was like, man, this is incredible. This game is really amazing. And I remember back in 2015 and 2016, I used to play from the university hostel a lot, and I used to use a lot of replays. I used to watch a lot of replays, and I used to slow down the replay, and I still do that, of course, because I'm amazed at the engine of the game. And every time I do watch some of these replays, just like you see in this video, all of these screenshots are made from the replays, I get amazed at how amazing the engine of this game really can handle. You know, the frames can handle so many things, and even the smallest details and all this. And that blows my mind, literally. And I am amazed at this game, War Thunder. How did the game evolve from 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20? By now we have all of these vehicles covering air, land, sea. It's just incredible. Even the recent April Fool's event, which I've participated in, was about the space weapons. Like, we were in the International Space Station and we took part in being an astronaut, and we had basically small spacecrafts armored and weaponized with some weapons, and that's so cool to consider. So this opinion that the game is not about infantry is not really that solid in my opinion, because it lacks any coherent evidence for it, because we already have the infantry in forms of the crews that are manning emplacement weapons like the guns, the anti-tank guns, the recoilless rifles and so on, and the artillery pieces and so on, and even we have them inside our vehicles, we have them inside our tanks and so on. Even in the aircrafts we have the pilot, which is represented as which is already a soldier unit that is manning the aircraft, and you can see yourself through that in the first person view. So this opinion that it can't add infantry is not solid, is not right, is false, because the game already has infantry. It has infantry in it. For example, if we go to some custom maps, you can add infantry and the infantry will fight each other. German soldiers with Kar 98 rifles, bolt action rifles. Wow, did I just say Kar 98 semi-automatic? Wow, I'm sorry, I really confused that. And the Mosin Nagant is not semi-automatic, it's bolt action. I apologize early in the video, I just mixed things up, maybe because I am so hyped up in this debate. Oh my god. Anyhow, let's move on. Regarding that, right now you can add, if you go and search on YouTube for example, or if you go and search on the Warthunder custom made maps, you will see that there are so many, not so many, there are some maps that actually give you the infantry, and you can fight against the infantry with your tank or aircraft or whatever you want to do. So that's amazing. And in my opinion right now, that if we just make those infantry controlled by the player, because these infantry have three stances. They are prone, they can go prone, they can go crouching, and they can also stand, and they can move, and they can walk, and they also can run in different, depending on what situation they are put in. And in some realistic maps, of course, we have those infantry. So this is an incredible thing. If this game really, Warthunder has a huge potential. I will not be surprised in the future if they introduce infantry, to be honest, and I would love to see that, because the game has within it has a huge capacity in its engine. It can handle a lot. And I can't really wait to see the day in which we can be given, for example, those recoilless rifles from the World War mode, and you just open your hangar, and instead of seeing a vehicle, you see two infantry units in form of two soldiers and one big gun, recoilless rifle, and so on. You can place them, for example, if you have a truck or small vehicle, like those vehicles in the game, like the Koppelwagen, like the Soviet gas small vehicles, or even the trucks. If you can use that to track this artillery piece and research it and use it to basically fight against tanks and fight against other vehicles, it will make a very nice gameplay, to be honest. And if we can also have a hangar that has a soldier that you can research, that would also be amazing. Because honestly, this would make it the ultimate war game, because I've never seen a game like War Thunder that has all of those vast maps, and that makes it so enjoyable for me, so immersive. And I would love to see that. And of course, before 3 months or 4 months, we had the new game, first-person shooter, massive multiplayer online, Enlisted. And Enlisted proved that infantry could work, I guess, in War Thunder, because it uses the War Thunder engine. Now, looking at the game Enlisted, I think it's importing the vehicles from War Thunder already. So I'm thinking, if Enlisted is importing vehicles from War Thunder, then why don't we have the infantry from Enlisted imported into War Thunder? Or if that's too complicated, then I hope that we get, for example, after maybe 5 years or 10 years, We can see infantry-focused maps in Warthunder that give you the ability to control infantry units, whether from first-person shooter or third-person shooter, as long as you have those infantry with Car 98 carabiner bolt action, or the Mosin Nagant bolt action rifles, or any other weapon, and you can customize your weapons, your soldier, and keep researching on all this. That would be amazing, because War Thunder is a game that really is an encyclopedia by itself. And if we can include soldiers with their helmets, with their weapons, with their grenades, with their various gadgets and tools and so on, then that will make this game truly a massive experience that is both educational and entertaining. And that's one of the things also that I like about it, because it's War Thunder is about military history. And for any human being that is interested in military history, this game would make for a perfect game for them, because of the amount of content it has. So in fact, right now, looking at the soldiers, I hope that in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, I hope the game's still alive in maybe even 15 years from now, and we see that the infantry are introduced into it. Now, if you say that maybe it's impossible because the enlisted has a more modified engine and more evolved engine, better engine that is really improved on all of this, so we can't import the infantry soldiers from that game into War Thunder, then maybe that's true. But then again, we can just use the already existing soldiers of War Thunder and turn them from AI into player controlled. And just if you are worried about the balance issues, then why don't we have a solely and entirely different, totally dedicated maps for infantry only, so you can fight against each other, infantry versus infantry. For example, we have 20 infantry versus 20 infantry, or 10 infantry versus 10 infantry. That would make for a great game. And you can, for example, fight, and in each wave, attack wave, for example, you can only deploy once. And for example, if there are 3 waves, then you can only deploy your soldier for only 3 times, depending on what wave you would like to attack in. So and the possibilities are literally endless. And looking at War Thunder and what the future of gaming has, I will not be surprised to see a big game, whether it is War Thunder or not, that has huge maps like War Thunder does, but it still contains all the military units, from infantry to the ground and air and sea vehicles. And basically War Thunder has achieved that. The only point that I have with War Thunder is that I want to see the infantry controlled by the player, because that would give me an amazing experience. Now, one last thing that I want to conclude this video with is my opinion. I would really love if Gaijin, I don't know if this video would ever make it to Gaijin, whether it's late, whether it's 10 years from now or 100 years from now, maybe it will be an old video. But at any moment, if this is my only dream with War Thunder, because everything I want in this game, honestly, I've had so far. So I'm not complaining, I'm just suggesting, I just have a dream. That's the difference. That's why I'm saying this is just my opinion, and it's just my opinion. It has nothing to do with anybody else or anything. So my request from Gaijin would be that they introduce the infantry as a controlled infantry by the player, and I'm willing to buy it. Like, I'm thinking sometimes, I'm like, if War Thunder, for example, is one of those games that are based on the business model that is free to play business model, which is amazing and which is very creative and unique. So I'm like, if War Thunder right now is introducing a lot of, premium vehicles that you can buy, and they are really amazing. I've had a couple of them. And if War Thunder has those vehicles introduced already, and you can buy them, I keep thinking, why don't War Thunder introduce a whole dedicated maps that only have within them have infantry focused only, infantry only maps, and you can buy, for example, a premium pack that has, for example, soldiers from Germany, or soldiers from the Soviet Union, or China, or France, or Italy, or Sweden, or United States, or Japan, or or France, like I said, or even United Kingdom and so on, and or even from Italy, or even from any one of those nations that we have in the game. And if you buy this pack, which is a premium pack, you can, for example, choose to play only inside the infantry only maps. And the funny thing, the ironic thing that I find is that if you make for example, if you make those infantry only maps, then you won't need a lot of resources and a lot of huge, size and the huge, improvements to add to the game, because you will only add, the infantry would require only a small scale, area in like 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer, and that's so easy for Warthunder, because Warthunder has all of those massive air maps, or even tank maps are still really huge. So I'm like, this game really has it all, and even if it can pull this, it will have more. So why can't we, for example, buy those infantry premium packs, and then we only can play in infantry only maps, and we can play against each other, because it won't require a lot from the developers to make a development for the infantry only maps, and it would be very easy, and it will also add a new experience, which will make the game even more fun and more educational, and it will cover all the aspects of war in the games, because most of the games these days are very troublesome when it comes to this issue of balance. So why not? For example, Call of Duty has very small maps, but that's a very amazing thing, because these maps basically fix the issues of balance in some cases, and because the game is focused on a fast-paced shooter, first-person shooter, and you die constantly, so you don't live long, then this is very amazing and practical, because the small map will allow you to keep spawning again and again, and you don't take a lot of time to get into the from the spawn point into the enemy and so on, and you can keep playing and having fun, and you don't get bored. So the same principle could be applied in infantry if Warthunder introduces player-controlled infantry, and it gives them small-scale maps, and that's it. And for example, if we can, use these infantry units in custom maps only, for example, if we can use them against tanks, if we can equip them with recoilless rifles or bazookas or anti-tank weapons or anti-armor weapons like the RPG and so on, that would be so cool, because it will make the game so fun on the aspect of custom maps, and it will open a new scenarios and new possibilities, and that's amazing. I don't know, I have a lot of opinions regarding this topic, and I basically want to see, I have other opinions on the whole entire game, like for example, if we can introduce the ground vehicles into air maps. I think Fly Daily also recently was saying that he said we want bigger maps. I think, in my opinion, I want to see the tanks able to, for example, spawn in a huge map, like the air realistic maps, and be able to move on a huge distances. I know this is a problematic thing, because people might get bored and all that, but for me, this is going to be very immersive. If I can, for example, turn it into a single player game mode, or even if I have my friends and we play together a custom map, and we play together and we use different weapons together, and we use, for example, the Verbal Wind or the ZSU-23 Shelka, for example, and we spawn it in the air realistic map, and we can use it against the aircrafts from any other position, from any location in the map, not just for example, because right now in War Thunder the ground vehicles have only one area, which is closed area, and I know this idea is not practical in these days, because there is a huge amount of I think it would require a lot from the developers to make the whole air map basically well modeled, because I see that they have attention for small detail and all of these things, which is amazing. But once again, if we can make this happen, then the game would be really amazing. And I have one last opinion here, because when it comes to these issues, I think that in the future it would be possible, because the size of the game would be because the sizes would be with the evolution and the continuous and the ongoing development and rapid technological advancement. I think that, for example, in 20 years, the current size of games would be a joke. For example, Warthunder would be able to expand itself as a game and introduce more and more and more content and take more size, because at that time and that age, maybe we will have more capabilities. Maybe even after 50 years, I don't know, I have no clue. So I hope that the game stays alive with the developers and they can introduce, for example, a fully detailed realistic map that includes ground vehicles able to spawn from any location in the map and able to drive all across the map, just like the aircraft can fly all across the map. And honestly, one last opinion here that I have is that look, right now I see that most players are focused on, I don't know if it's the players only or if it is the developers. They want the game to look as good as it can, and that's amazing. They want the best graphics, the best everything. And for me as a gamer and somebody who's passionate about the gaming industry, I can tell you that, for example, in the old days, in 2009, in 2008, I used to play the Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and I used to play it online a lot. And that game, if you compare it by now, it's not that much compared to modern games in its graphics and all of this. Even Battlefield 1942, which I already still play, if you compare, for example, the Forgotten Hope Secret Weapons mode, which is an amazing mode, which has a huge potential and is full of content. If you look at it, the game has less graphics. Its graphics are outdated. It's not that good when it comes to the ground and all of this. And with the modern games putting too much emphasis on this, on the graphics, on the details, on how good the looks and the aesthetics of the game looks. Then what we have is very amazing thing, but at the same time is limiting thing, because if you want to introduce, for example, ground vehicles in the realistic huge maps, then you will need to make a huge amount of, design overhaul, in which you will basically make that small area in which the ground vehicles are able to deploy, make it all over the map, make that same area, which is well modeled. For example, if you go outside that area, you can realize that the game is still very amazing, but it lacks, for example, the graphics, the content of the scenery is not that well modeled, because it only has houses and grass and trees and only that, and some water and like that, because it's designed, for aircraft to fly over it or to land on it. And the amazing thing that I found, which is also ironic, is that you can land your aircraft in those realistic maps anywhere you want. You can land them, and you can basically move on the ground with your aircraft, but you can't do that with the ground vehicle. What a logic! I mean, that's funny, but I know this is just my opinion. I bet some people would be listening to my video and they are saying, "Oh, this weird guy." Yeah, that's where we at. That's who we are. If we are not weird, then we are not original. We have to be original. We have to state our opinions, and we have to really share with the people around the world what we really want. So, regarding this topic, I would say that I want to see those ground vehicles able to move all across the map, even if it is just the way it is, even if it's going to look less in the graphics, less in the scenery and all of that. Because I just want that, because I just like to see myself experiencing a huge scale map, because that gives me immersion, that gives me amazing feelings, that really entertains me and makes me so happy, and really makes me able to basically fantasize and play around and use my imagination, while at the same time I'm playing in a virtual world inside a video game. So it's amazing. So that would be my last idea. On the next videos I will try to also make more commentary about my own ideas in War Thunder, and I hope that we continue to see more vehicles in War Thunder. We have to see yet more modern aircraft and tanks and all this. And if anybody who is a War Thunder gamer or anybody who plays the War Thunder game listens to this, I hope you enjoy your time and have a great one. And with that being said, see you in other videos. Peace and out.